Well, it's late February already, folks. Welcome to my shooter sound design with Wwise integration presentation. Hey everybody, my name's Trevor Baker. So I got bit by the bug, the creativity bug, when I was like 9 years old, when Far Cry came out and Call of Duty was still big, the first Call of Duty, and CryEngine had Cry Editor 2, or it was Cry Editor 1 because it was the first. Anyway, and it just had this crazy sandbox where it felt like you could do anything. The sky was the limit. You know, if you're a kid who grew up playing with Legos, level design looked like God tier Legos. It was, you could do anything you wanted. Sky was the absolute limit. Then I got into wanting to do 3D modeling, graphic design. I dabbled in stuff, animation. Eventually found my love of music and sound in high school during my angsty years. But just the pivotal games for me, Half-Life 2, Doom 3, the amazing soundscapes that Chris Vrenna created with Ed Lima and Clint Walsh, just mind-blowingly phenomenal. Everybody should have to study this stuff in sound design and game audio. And if you're an electronic music producer, you should definitely be studying hardcore Kenji Yamamoto's music from the Metroid Prime franchise, Kelly Bailey's Half-Life and Half-Life 2 soundtracks. Some of the most original sounding music in existence, period, regardless of whether it's in a game or what have you. My objective with this project is to show AAA video game recruiters that I have the chops to design and implement amazing, immersive, realistic, crisp audio into their games. When I complete the project, there will be 8 variations of gunshots, plus the gun tails, which will technically make 64 variations. There will be 5 reload sounds layered into Wwise. It'll just be, for the most part, randomization of just those 5 sounds, probably with a little bit of high shelving to make it sound duller or crisper between variations. Make it sound a little bit more believable. Prospective employers are going to experience this in totality. The giant gestalt after all the work I've done. For now, what you're going to see is all the stuff I've done on a linear timeline before implementation, because I synchronized to all this game footage that I recorded of myself playing around in an Unreal Engine 5 sandbox developer kit. I'll see you in the next slide. So what's happened with game audio in the last 20-25 years, and why do I have to choose to do it this way with middleware like Wwise? Well, in the old days, game engines had this really basic way of handling .ogg and .wav files for anything from ambient sounds, loops, gunshots, player pain sounds. It would be like player underscore pain 01, 02, 03, 04. And it was almost always 4 variations, especially back in 2004. Like Doom 3 had like 4 or 5 footstep sounds. Half-Life 2 has 4 footstep sounds for gravel, grass, what have you. Gunshot sounds might only be 2 variations, maybe 1. So basically none. But these days, today, in contrast with that video on the left side, the elements of a footstep, reload, or gunshot are going to be rendered separately and then sent out as these little tiny layers that are put into a randomizer in something like Fmod or Wwise, especially Wwise. This will output exponentially way more unique possibilities. If you got like 8 footsteps on one leg, 8 footsteps on the other leg, which sounds silly to me, but it works for them, I guess. You'll have 64 there, but then if you add like a soft footstep or a hard footstep, that gives you even more dynamics in the game, more feedback, which is technically more fun because we associate feedback in games with fun. the project. How am I going to accomplish all this? I purchased an Unreal Engine 5 project that's called the Multiplayer FPS Kit version 1. This has a lot of like beta looking stuff, but it's close enough to what you expect like an AK-47 or a pump shotgun to look like to work for exactly this project. Once I create all the assets on a linear timeline in my digital audio workstation, which is what I've been doing for a little bit, all that's going to get named into variations like, pump shotgun reload 01, pump shotgun reload 02, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not going to do anything too crazy with the variations. I'm not going to do a bunch of slicing and dicing like bolt catches and little tiny granular reloading sounds to make thousands of possibilities. That'll be way too much. Keeping track of all that for this project it's unnecessary. So I'm going to have the gunshot tails that ring out be the elements that get multiplied by the dry sound of the gunshot. So you hear the poof, and then you hear and that will create 64 different unique variations of gunshots, for example. After I'm done with the linear timeline, that's going to go into Wwise, middleware between Unreal Engine and the user. It's audio implementers don't do a ton of programming necessarily, so this is what helps them tango with the programmers for the game. Now that I've sort of explained how I'm going to go about this next part is going to pertain to you especially. What you're going to see is a bunch of synchronized sound design to the in-gameplay footage. This isn't what I'm going to show at the end of the class. It's just that I don't have the implementation done yet. In my itinerary, I included things like ambient sounds or zombie vocalizations in case my project wasn't enough work. And since it's turning out to be quite a bit just for the gun sounds, there will be some things that are called removed from the project as time disallows. This is an overview of my process. This is the start of the chapter. We're going to go through my studio recording choices, the equipment that I've used, and my justifications for why I'm using it, which you'll pick up on in my vocal recording on the next slide. And then we're going to have a look at my professional libraries, the different games that inspired me, different media, why I made those choices, my justification. And this is my studio setup. As you can see, I got a condenser microphone, a small diaphragm condenser going into the R&D dual Shelford preamp. That's being driven up to 42 decibels of gain with the blue silk enabled at like 20%. And that's going out of this negative 6 decibel output so I can get more saturation on the input. It's going out to the OptoFET with the grip mode and the blue mode enabled. That's a very new unit, just came out last month. We're going out of there into the Newton channel, which is pretty much run clean. It's just there for another transformer stage. Again, going out of the negative 6 decibel output to be safe, to keep the gain staging responsibly under control. That's going into the SSL Revival 4000, going into the line input, bypassing the preamp, going into the de-esser, going into the compressor, which is a VCA set to like 1.2 to 1 ratio or somewhere around there. Tiny bit of EQ on the upper end toward 8 kilohertz because this microphone could get a little harsh above 6 kilohertz with the S sounds. And then that's going out of the output with the output set pretty high into the Rupert Neve Designs Master Bus Transformer, which is bypassed. That's just for another 2 transformers to add their mojo to the sound. Get more of a rich, punchy, gritty, ballsy sound. And then that's going into a really clean, phenomenal, crystalline quality digital to analog converter, the RME ADI 2/4 Pro Special Edition. The DPA is my microphone of choice because it offers true-to-life frequency response for accurate sound capture. It has a fast transient response that ensures that there's precise reproduction of dynamic audio of anything that I record. It's designed for capturing game audio with clarity and detail in my studio. It's perfect for professional recording, and any acoustic environment, especially when you're seeking natural sound. Last but not least, it is durable and it's reliable for consistent performance during sessions. In fact, I'm using it to record this right now. I know this one looks scary, but don't be intimidated. They're just objects used for the sound designer's pleasure. So for the pump shotgun, my Mossberg 590A1 that I got, I use that for the shotgun pump sounds, a lot of the shell insert sounds. It's like the base for the shotgun pump and the shell inserts. Used my dad's Walther PDP for the majority of the pistol reloads, the Glock reloads. I did record my uncle's Marlin 22, but I don't think I've actually used that yet for anything. My Lee Enfield No. 1 Mark III with the Monte Carlo stock, that is the basis for the bolt action rifle, especially when you cycle rounds. There's so many layers, it's a little bit buried, but on the tail end, you can hear a little bit of it. And my dad's Ruger PC carbine, which I don't think I really used much of that either. It's primarily the Walther, the Mossberg, and the Lee Enfield. So that's there's actually quite a lot of military history there, and it's really cool that you can have weapons that came out, were released in the last few years, married with a weapon that came out in 1948, like the No. 1 Mark III. Well, it didn't come out, but that specific one was produced in 1948 in India, actually. So there's a bit of history mingled with the artistry. What I did was recorded it very close mic'd on the DPA, almost entirely on the DPA 4015A. Made sure that the microphone was pointed into the breech area, rotated the shotgun so that it was pointing toward the magazine tube. Different stuff, different ways of experimenting to find the most crisp, rich, forward, dry sound. That's how I always approach it. I mentioned these earlier, and you're going to see a few slides of videos from these game series that will show you how mind-blowingly good their audio design was for the time, especially back in the Dolby Pro Logic 2 era, back in 2001, 2002 to 2004, when my dad got his Logitech 5.1 surround sound system. Playing Doom 3 that way, that was the way to play that game. That's really when audio became CD/DVD quality, and it hasn't really increased in fidelity by too much since then. So it's a great place to go back and look at the ground zero for high fidelity audio in entertainment media like games, which traditionally ran into too many limitations, like too little RAM, too little hard drive space, all that. Check it out. I think you guys will love all this. And again, you should study games like this. Modern games that have sound design this good and this immersive as well, for sure. If you want to, you can skip ahead to the end to just watch my demo. Thanks again for watching this.
America won't beat China with socialist price controls. Congress should reject MFN legislation.
Remember the first video on the internet? 30 years of web on one platform. Check it out now.
Hydroxycut Hardcore Shredding Stack is here. Choose between powerful capsules or convenient drink sticks. Trust.
Ever wondered where the web was born? Here, in the labs of CERN, at the foothill.
University makes it possible.
Be unstoppable with a master.
So wake up, Mr. Freeman. Wake up and smell the ashes.
fine.
Welcome. Welcome to City 17. You have chosen, or been chosen, to relocate to one of our finest remaining urban centers.
Rebound and recover with the Planet Fitness Black Card. Join now and unlock recovery.
Remember the first video on the internet? 30 years of web on one platform. Check it out now.
America won't beat China with socialist price controls. Congress should reject MFN legislation.
Marine, if you run across any operational sentry bots, use them. Those guys pack a lot of firepower.
So, what did you think? What does your gut tell you? Do you think I'm supporting my long-term goals with this project? I mean, I would say I feel it's going on the right track myself, but I'd like to see what you guys would think. You need to make sure it sounds like it fits what you saw. I mean, that's imperative, that it matches perfectly what you're seeing on the screen, that all the actions, the arm movements, the clicks, reload, shooting sounds, that they match. Do you think I've made enough progress at this point in the semester? Judging by the work I've done, I really just have to do a little bit more tweaking with weapon sounds, and then I can start learning implementation, and I can slap ambience over top of that at the end, which I shouldn't say. I never do anything halfway, but you know what I mean. That'll have to be what I focus on at the end. What do you think I can improve upon? Do you think it's too busy sounding, too crunchy, congested sounding, too many layers on top of each other? Thank you guys again so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this, to go through all this, hear part of my story, and to see how that's led to this point in my life and my creative career. You guys have an amazing rest of your semester and have awesome, blessed careers. Peace out.